We're on worksheet 7.4 of the green sheet. Number 2, parts D, E, and F. Are you ready? I'm going to color code these things. One's going to be red. Hello, red. One's going to be green, and one will be blue. What we have here are 3 problems, all quadratics, all where you're trying to find the solution, meaning what value of x makes this true. But all 3 of them will be done slightly different ways. Are you ready? I said, are you ready? Sure. All right, here we go. For the red one, is it already in general form with A, B, and C on the left equal to 0? Is A, B, or C, are any of them 0? Are they all present and accounted for? There's a 4 for A, there's a 7 for B, and there's a -1 for C. None of them are 0. If that's the case, you have 2 choices. Choice 1, factor it. See if you can figure out what times what will work and solve it that way, using something called the zero product property. If you can't factor it, then you're going to use something called the quadratic formula, where you do the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. It's all over 2a. Quadratic formula will give you the 2 solutions to this problem. All right? So that's part D. I'm not going to actually get the answers for you. I'd like you to work them out on your own. But those are the 2 choices that you have. In green, first of all, get it into standard form by getting one side equal to 0. Now that I've done that, is A or B or C equal to 0? Which one? C. A is 1, B is -5.8, and C is 0. If C is missing, this problem is a lot easier than using the quadratic formula. Don't go there. Don't use the quadratic formula. It's not necessary. Instead, what you want to do is notice that we have 2 terms here, both with a what in them. Hint, I made it blue. X. Since those are the only 2 terms there and they both have an x, factor it out. By factoring out an x, here's what I mean. You're going to take that x and put it out in front of a set of parentheses. In the parentheses will be the remnants, the leftovers. X squared was x times what? X. 5.8x minus, by the way, now that I removed an x, is simply a 5.8. In other words, when C is missing, just factor out that x and then solve. Here's how you finish it up. This next part's called the zero product property. I mentioned it when I did the red part, but here I'll show you what I mean by that. The zero product property basically means that if A times B equals 0, what could be 0? A or B or both. So, to finish this problem, you would say, well, the solutions are going to come from x equaling 0 or x minus 5.8 equaling 0. If x equals 0, there's nothing to do. You're done. That's one of the solutions. The other solution will come from solving this by adding 5.8 to both sides. And when you add 5.8, you get x equals 5.8. Those are the 2 solutions for 2e. C was 0, so we just factor out an x and solve. By the way, C was 0, right? I just said it. If C was 0, what would the y-intercept of that parabola be? 0. And if the y-intercept of a parabola is 0, guess what one of the x-intercepts also has to be? 0. That's why that happens. When the C is missing, one of the intercepts will be 0. This parabola probably goes like this, comes back up, and hits at 5.8. Next, we have part F. And in F, what's missing, A, B, or C? Since there's no plain old x term, you see there's an x squared and a 48, B is 0. And when B is 0, these problems are even easier than the red and the green. Because all you have to do in this case, if there's no x in the middle like that, add 48 to both sides. Divide by the coefficient out here if there is one. Okay. And then, if there's no coefficient to divide, you don't have to worry about it. What do you do to get x by itself when it was squared? Square root both sides. So x will equal plus or minus whatever the square root of 48 is. Probably about 6.9. Okay? So let's think about that. Just want to follow up here. If one of the x-intercepts is at positive 6.9, and the other x-intercept is at negative 6.9, where's the line of symmetry? At 0. How do we find the line of symmetry? Is that it in red? Negative b over 2a? Yeah? Okay. And what's b? What's b? 0. So if you put a 0 up here, the line of symmetry will be at 0. Okay? Well, something to show you there. That's it.